games are 50 to 100 times more complicated than they were 20 years ago. Yeah. We can sit here and be old men and be like, well, my Ocarina of Time never crashed. Why is Black Ops 6 crashing?
Okay. I don't know what that game is.
That's it, guys. That's the show.
That's the show.
Hello and welcome to Queued Up, where the lobby is hot, the mics are on, and who cares about the intro, man? My name is Eli the Ninja. We're talking about Call of Duty Esports World Cup just concluded. I'm joined with some of my best friends. We got CJ, Nick, and Davis. I, of course, like I said, I'm Eli. I'll say it again. Who cares? Let's talk about this tournament. It was an insane week of games, starting with the group stage. So in groups A and B, those are the first ones that we want to look at today. OpTic didn't even drop a map in their pool. Granted, their pool was probably the easiest one, let's be honest. But then there were some surprises as well. We saw Five Fears upset G2 and Cloud9 Challengers team. What did you think about it, CJ?
For me, I think this is a really cool opportunity because we do not get to see Challengers teams play CDL teams in the franchise league of the CDL. So the opportunity for the Challengers teams to be able to show up. And I really wasn't disappointed in some of the showings for some of these guys. In this group specifically, I was a little disappointed, but some of the other groups, we did see folks be able to take some stuff to distance, like a Five Fears. And I think it's cool for the opportunities for those guys within the league. And then Surge, Thieves, OpTic, Five Fears, these are the ones that come out, and they were exciting. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't be more excited for Five Fears. The fact that they weren't even supposed to be there, CJ, and that they still came through and not only took one team down, they took two.
Dude, thank you, Carolina Royal Ravens.
Yep, no, right? Thank you, Carolina Royal Ravens. Hey, if somebody could find the clip of a couple of weeks ago when I was on here and I was like, it would be great if Five Fears went on a run, because it's that I've got nothing to lose situation, and they came in here with something to prove, and they proved everybody wrong and got out of groups.
Yeah, and they had an opportunity and they took advantage of it, and that's what you love to see. And I think this tournament really showed that there's a lot of talent out there in the Challengers, and there needs to be an argument made about expanding this franchise league or maybe getting away from it, because there's a lot of players out there that are very talented, showed up to this event and showed that they're capable of competing.
Yeah, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We're definitely going to talk about that a bit more. Let's talk about the other two pools, though. Pool C and D, where we did see that other Challengers team upset FaZe, sent them packing early. I don't think anyone expected that, but here we see in Group C, we had movie star Koi, the artist formerly known as Toronto Ultra. They had a pretty easy time through the bracket. I mean, they were looking insane here.
Yeah, Boston Breach being in this pool, always wishy-washy. You never know what team you're going to get. So in hindsight, now that the tournament's over, looking at this group, it wasn't really the scariest outside of Koi there. Falcons, I was expecting a lot more out of them. They still looked decent against Koi and Boston Breach, but wasn't able to get out either. So
I think Falcons, if they could actually figure out how to play Search and Destroy with that roster, they would have made it out for sure. I think as a whole, they were honestly probably better than Boston Breach, but they just couldn't win a Search to save their life.
Well, yeah, and again, one of the few teams like Cloud9 New York that made a roster change right before the event and having a month to change on a new patch with a new team.
I mean, both those guys, it's like TJ showing up over there, not having a whole lot of time. And I don't think a whole lot of TJ as a player anyway, so they didn't get a big upgrade, in my opinion. You can have a different opinion.
Fine. He's really good at Search, though, traditionally.
He is. I mean, he's been an average player, I think, and has won some stuff, but is not a standout player, in my opinion. Yeah. But ultimately, the same thing with New York as well, and Gwyn going over there. It's like you get a week to kind of run through some stuff against teams that have had all year to kind of figure some stuff out, and so you're just a little bit slower to figure everything.
Yeah, interestingly, the only player that had just joined a team that popped off was Abe on Movie Star Koi. Abe was playing lights out. This guy was instantly a huge upgrade for their lineup. And one thing that impressed me about watching his gameplay, he's just so good at hitting routes and surprising people. He's so creative with his movement around the map, and people were not able to keep up with him.
Yeah, it reminded me of a Shotzzy a little bit, with the routes that he hit. What were you going to say, though?
No, I think speaking to that Movie Star Koi roster, a.k.a. Toronto Ultra, I think it just shows how good the other three are, because they went through Beans, then they got Mercules for an event, then Beans came back, and then now they got Abe. They've been in competition with a few different pieces, so that just speaks volume to the other three on that roster.
Yeah, I like the Ultra right now. From a overall perspective, I think they're placing well enough. I mean, they've gotten a lot of third and fourths out of a lot of different events. They haven't taken down the big giants on that, but they had a really good season overall, and they've been able to scout some amazing talent.
And I'll say ever since Mercules left the team, it kind of looked like they were on a downward trajectory. Before this event, you can tell they put in the work, and they were a lot better and improved, in my opinion, with Abe and coming to this event. They really impressed me.
Yeah, I'm a massive Joe Deceives fan. That kid is incredible. I wish people talked about him more. I know he kind of had the keys to the kingdom over in 100T last year and fell flat on their face. However, this year, Toronto Ultra, they've been looking great.
And I think one last thing to say about Abe is I think he brought out the best out of Joe Deceives. They were sitting next to each other, and you would see them on stage. Anytime Joe's popping off, Abe's like, let's go. And Joe definitely feeds off that energy. You could tell he was hyped up. So, cool. Well, that's going to do it for the groups. We do go into the quarterfinals, where, if we're being completely honest, they were not as exciting as the rest of the tournament, but it really showed that the top 4 teams were that much better than the rest. I think that there was probably not many permutations of this bracket. If any of those top 4 teams played any of the other 4, I think we'd end up with the same top 4 as long as they hadn't played each other. OpTic, Heretics, Koi, and Surge were just a step above the rest.
Yeah, and being single elimination, 100T getting 3-1 by OpTic, that's why you wanted to see them come out on top in Group A, I believe. They had to go through the bottom side of that because Surge won. Actually, I think that was Group B, sorry. But either way, it's by coming through the elimination side and having to face OpTic round 1 and 3-1, bye, see you later. Not how they wanted to end their year either.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves didn't look great in that series overall. It was definitely the OpTic show.
100 Thieves just kind of fell off throughout the year. I mean, they were so good at the beginning of the year. I think they just kind of got a little cocky, maybe complacent, and other teams just put in the work and really worked.
I was asking myself this question of like the downfall of 100 Thieves, and was it like they just talk so much? I know you were hating on them for talking so much crap, but like, did they just stop playing? Did they stop caring? Did the game change through a patch that they just couldn't adapt to? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts is that, I mean, when you talk a lot of crap, a lot of people, that puts a target on your back, and a lot of people don't really like you. And I think there was kind of I mean, they talked about it before Champs, how there was like a network of scrims that teams were scrimming each other, and they were left out of that little network, and it's because teams don't like them. And so whenever you put this target on your back and everybody's working to beat you and you're excluded from scrims and stuff, you're missing out on strats that everybody else is doing. And so I think they just fell behind because of their own, thinking they're up on a pedestal.
Yeah, they won those Major 3, Major 4, and they're like, oh, yeah, we could do this. That's fine.
Same thing, it feels like the same with FaZe, too. Like, both teams, it was like they feel like something changed, and it might have been their scrim partners and just not being able to put the gas as hard because ultimately, when you're not playing against the best teams in the league, you don't get the good reps.
Yeah, no, great points all around. I do think it's either the fact that they're excluded from the scrims or maybe they just got lazy. Like you said, they win 2 majors and they just kind of sit back like, oh, this is too easy. And then everybody else is working twice as hard as you. Like, they're going to catch up. So
yeah.
Yeah, because they did not look the same.
No.
Not at
Any
all.
shape at all.
But let's talk about the semifinals. Sunday was absolute cinema. This was like the best day of Call of Duty that I've seen, in my opinion. I mean, let's just take a look. Let's jump into the first series that we got to see, which was Vancouver versus Koi. And off the rip, this was when they were at 249, I want to say. And then it looked like Koi were going to come back, but ultimately Surge won. Actually, both these teams are blue, so this is throwing me off in the graphic.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Surge
did win that
hard
one.
point,
Okay.
red card.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, man, it could have gone either way. And then we go into Dealership. That was one of the few games that was like pretty decisive. 6-2 in Koi's favor. Felt like it ended very fast. Control goes the distance.
Control was the one for me. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Like, Koi went up 2-0 in this Control, and I really thought, like, oh, they're in the driver's seat if they can win this Control. And then the fact that Surge was able to win 3 rounds in a row, and I think that really just – it didn't check Koi all the way out, but, I mean, that's a huge game. That's your deciding game in this series right there. I mean, if Koi wins that, they win the series 3-2. So, going up 2-0 in Control, you got to get one more round and just win the game, and they weren't able to.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw a softball to Davis over here, and because he always says it, and the analysts were talking about it the entire time during this series, and especially during that map, to go down 0-2 in Control and then to be down in the hole 1-2 in the series. Rambo Ray got them right at the right time, and it showed, and it changed the entire momentum for that entire series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think coaches being in the ear really gave Surge a big upgrade because Rambo Ray, one of the greatest minds COD's ever seen. you know he was feeding them some real-time strats to come back. So that's a great point. I also wanted to highlight the Game 5, Round 11, when it came down to a 1v2, and Nasty had the most questionable chow of all time, where he just like
He wanted
jumped.
to show off his Omni movement, okay, Eli? He was like, yo, I got this.
My thing before that, so they drop down in the bottom, and Koi actually gets the advantage off the start, and they were in a 3v2, and then Abe jumped over the little, like, whatever, the control panel there and died to the RCXD, and that completely changed the whole round. Now Insight's in a 2v1. They literally had 3v2 and sight control to where Surge was trying to hit. They should have won. I think Koi should have won this series, no question. I was really pulling for them. Obviously, Surge came out on top, but I just think, like, they just misplayed a few scenarios that really cost them.
Yeah, let's jump into the second match. That was going to be Heretics and OpTic, of course. This one also going the distance, the reverse sweep. Look at those first two games.
This was your 259 to...
It's probably the best series of the year. I mean, 250, 249, game 1, comeback victory. Game 2, search and destroy. They were down, what, 5-2?
5-1.
5-1. Come back and win that. I mean, OpTic, the fact that they're able to dig deep and come back and win the control was insane.
Yeah, I mean, Heretics was so close to just 3-0ing them and it being over just out the start. And then Mercules was able to cap the control point right at the end, and they were able to win the control. But I really thought Heretics was just going to slap them 3-0, and I was shocked.
Yeah, the control, they actually they went down 0-2.
Yep.
Again.
Beginning, right?
Yep.
And Shotzi made a play on, it was the outer, the B control.
long route,
Yeah,
yeah.
he just like, he delayed for probably 10, 15 seconds to just buy times on the spawns because he was sitting outside the hill and didn't jump on it until late. And this was like one of those moments where like Shotzi definitely made the series for me anyway. Or the whole event really was the Shotzi show in my opinion. But ultimately, that was one of these moments where the turnaround to be able to win that map was just crazy. And that probably is the recipe for the, you know,
The
the
Shotzi
reverse
was
sweep.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see somebody who's 23 years old, who has obviously played in the league for a long time. It just shows his maturity. The amount of people that are going to take the fast route are not going to be able to wait on that flank that he was able to do and pick up the win for them was massive. And then they got I think a 3 feed, and it was just over.
And I think that's one of the biggest improvements that I've seen personally from Shotzi this year, because watching him in previous seasons, he's so just like fast and at your face and hitting routes and hitting routes. This year, especially these last two events, it seems like he's really just paid attention to his timings and making sure that he's not throwing away lives and throwing away pressure. He's making the right play, delaying for his team, and making sure, like you said, the maturity in his head is putting him and his team in the right position to win.
Yeah, and especially on control, like spawns are everything. You could get caught in a trap and be stuck there for a minute and a half. And the fact that he took that long route and was able to get that flank.
The second hard point as well in that series, OpTic went down by like 40, 50 points multiple times, lost spawns multiple times, and they really, OpTic's historically been really good at slaying their way out of bad positions. And you kind of saw that old, like they just slayed their way out of bad positions multiple times on the second hard point as well.
Yeah, Dashi, I got to point out, was playing insane as well. Dashi was phenomenal at this tournament. I mean, honestly, every member of OpTic, I feel like this might have been one of Huke's like lesser performances, just because everybody else kind of outshone him, I guess. But I mean, Dashi held things down.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Dashi like that, because he in champs he actually like wasn't really, I mean, he was good, obviously they won champs, but it's not like he was shining. But he had a few maps where he was really shining this event.
Well, there was somebody on this desk that was dragging him through the mud that he was the issue for some of these roster changes that happened earlier in the year. But now it's saving grace, Lord and Savior.
So this was definitely his quietest year. Like overall, like I have seen a lot more from Dashi in the previous years, and this is one. And I think this goes into like the OpTic roster as a whole, starting with Kenny and Pred from a winning season and going through the transition they did, where the only two on the back end of that are Shotzi and Dashi. So the OpTic franchise believes in those two and didn't believe in Kenny and Pred for whatever reason, even though they won them a championship last year. And you saw this like weird roster change with all those guys. And so they had this dynamic they're fighting through all year long. But it's cool to see those two ended up shining at the end of it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned like the general OpTic camp as well, because I feel like part of the reason Shotzi's more disciplined now is probably because he has people like Scump and Formal in his ear at the headquarters all the time. Like, yo, why are you scamming this kill? Like, you don't need to fly at this guy. And I think just having those voices makes this roster even better. So.
And this year, he just grew into knowing that he's the guy that OpTic's bought into, him and Dashi. Like you said, you look at Formal and you look at Scump, those are the guys from previous years where it was like, you guys are the team. You guys are going to make this team, and we're looking to you to like decide everything. And now that's Shotzi and Dashi, and they really grew into that role well, I think, throughout the year.
Okay, well, let's talk about our third place match. That was going to be between, obviously, MCOY and Heretics. Now, this one, I think a lot of people predicted Heretics to win it, but MCOY just played resilient. Heretics definitely a momentum-based team, and Koi were able to kind of stifle their momentum. But, I mean, this went literally 5 seconds in hardpoint, 1 in control, and then it goes to round 11 in game 5. This was a crazy series.
I like the fact that the Heretics have been...
Rencor, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Rencor, it was insane. Essentially, the Heretics had a crazy season in the fact that they really went through an entire revamp themselves, right? With the addition of Super on that squad halfway through the season, it was like they really were able to find their groove towards the end of the year, which was cool because they were probably ranked number 8 for me, mid-season. And then that upgrade of Super, they were clearly number 2 or 3 by the end of the season, based off of their champs performance and this performance.
I mean, 2 superstar pickups in Rencor and Super, 2 rookie of the year candidates. They're insane.
And it's always good to see another team entering that top notch of the CDL, because when you think back, I mean, Mutineers, now obviously the Heretics, they've never been a team that's really been at the top of the league. And this year they were finally able to find a solidified spot in the top, like you said, 5, 6 teams. Obviously, sometimes they finish better than that, but it's just good to see another team rising into the ranks, joining like OpTic and Ultra and FaZe and all these teams that are normally there. Some of these teams you don't normally see it, and they finally, made that push to the top.
FaZe? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, FaZe is always in the top of the CDL.
And they still had a good year in retrospect.
I guess the other side of this argument would be that MCOY totally could have been the second place team throughout the season as well. Like, they were always with, whether they were playing the Surge or whether they were playing the Heretics or even a 100 Thieves or FaZe when they were on fire. Like, the Ultra had a shot through this entire season as well, but just weren't able to close out in the big moments.
Yeah, I have to agree. Well, that's going to lead us into the grand finals, where, of course, we saw Surge versus OpTic, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, going back to champs, I mean, we saw Surge put up a big fight. There was a tweet that came out from Nasty after the semifinals where he said that he injured his shooting finger after their semifinals round 11, where he jumped child out. So maybe he wasn't playing like himself. But honestly, the thing that I noticed in this was Neptune did not show up to this final, and Dashy is jumping off the page at me here.
Yeah, this was an unfortunate end to overall a great day, and I'm not saying that because OpTic won in any way, but we had 3 game 5s before this.
Yeah.
Everything was to the wire. 2 round 11 game 5s, but 3 game 5s in total, and you're like, oh, we're about to set up for a game 7. It's about to go crazy, and then you get a 4-0 beat down. Even in the first map, OpTic was up by 100. I'm pretty sure it was 29 to 129. Vancouver made it a little competitive, and they won the second half. But in that final hard point, all OpTic needed was 2 seconds, so they just hopped in, got it, and it was over, unfortunately. But
this is like the story of the whole season, right? Like, the Surge make it to grand finals and then do nothing. It's like they didn't win. I think they won 1 map through all of grand finals. Was it?
They're 3-17 in grand finals appearances. Yeah. They've made grand finals more times than they've won maps in grand finals.
Hey, they won 2 maps in minor 2. There you go. Grand finals.
Nobody counts online, bro.
Hey,
no one cares about online.
But it's just like it's crazy the fact that they are beating the teams to get to the spot to get to the spot, but it's crazy they can't close it out.
In my opinion, I just think, grand finals is that, do or die factor where when you look at these rosters 2 lines up, and don't get me wrong, no discredit to Surge. I think they've been a tremendous team and probably the most consistent team over the year. But when you really look at the names beside each other, I think they're just lacking the firepower. And when you get in grand finals, that's all what it's about. The fact that we had coaches on the stage for this event, I think Rambo Ray really, really tremendously helps this team, and he's able to get them into grand finals. But when you're in grand finals, there's so many nerves and so much going on that it really just comes down to sheer gunpowder and skill, and I think OpTic was just able to just kind of...
Well, there wasn't a slouch on the other side of that stage when it came to coaches either with Karma back there, but it was... Unfortunately, it was a beatdown of a series.
One thing I've been thinking about is there's kind of this rock, paper, scissors kind of thing going on in COD as well, where if there was a different matchup in grand finals, I think, if it was Heretics or Koi, I think they put up a much better fight. But for whatever reason, OpTic's playstyle perfectly counters Surge's, and Surge just can't do it. They looked good at champs, but it just doesn't look like it's possible for them to come out with the dub.
Yeah, I mean, if you put OpTic in a spot against anybody, it's like Ultra's going to go somewhere. I think Heretics are going to go. FaZe, even 100 Thieves. Like, it's going to be at least a little bit competitive, but it just...
For some reason,
yeah, the Surge
Neptune
could not.
Neptune just needs to show up against them. I think that's the big difference.
And this is, I don't want to keep going on the Surge train here, but OpTic 3-0'd FaZe at Champs. OpTic 3-1'd 100T in this bracket.
Yeah.
It's like not a lot of teams are playing them close. Koi was the team to play them close this event, and that
Heretics.
was...
Yeah.
Oh, Heretics, yeah.
Yeah,
But it was like...
They all look
Everybody,
the same.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is like Heretics
It's like I don't
have a
think-
better matchup because they meet OpTic's aggression with their own aggression. Whereas,
Yes.
like, I think teams like Surge try to set up too much and take their time too much, and Shotzi's hitting a route and shooting him in the back. But it's like Metals was doing that to OpTic when they played the other way around. So, but let's. I know that there's more to talk about Surge for Nick later, so we'll move into the next one. Let's talk about FaZe Clan falling. Was this the last tournament that we're gonna see of these guys? They got eliminated by a challengers team. Omit. I feel like this is the end of FaZe.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in first here. I'm stealing the mic. Sorry, Davis, ahead of time. First, no disrespect to Omit. Shout out Rafi. Shout out them boys. Congrats, great performance.
100%.
Again, everybody's got you written off from the get-go. You showed up, you showed out, plain and simple. However, this goes back to what we always talk about. Whenever there's rumored roster changes prior to a contract being over, those guys were checked from the day one. They knew that they were making a roster change, and it chalked the whole team. They were done.
It's sad to see. I think the Tiny Terrors and Celium, honestly, I think they'll stay together. I mean, they've been so successful. I think that they're going to leave those three together.
I take it 1,000-1 against.
I think Draza will definitely get moved, but I don't know, dude. You have literally, they're the most successful group in Call of Duty history, CDL history, and I think it would be very, very shocking to get rid of them.
I think they've entered a new space where they're like tired of each other.
It could be that too.
I don't know.
You also kind of see that on stage, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah.
They do look like they're a little tired of each other. But I mean,
back
at
to
the end of the day, I mean, y'all are freaking good together. Get over it.
That's true. Yeah.
Nah, I mean, personalities can really mess up a team. I mean, it's all vibes, bro. You know this, you're a Halo coach. Like, the second vibes are off, that's when a team is destroyed. Like, they have no chance anymore. I think, my theory is that the two red teams are going to intermingle and create some new teams. Maybe duo and duo, like Scrap and Hydra.
Well,
With-
I think there's... I'm not leaking because it's already relatively public and none of it is confirmed.
He loves to leak.
Leakers. Casing came out and said he's a little upset that nobody can compete with oil money. So therefore, most likely, some of his players are going to the Falcons.
That
Not
makes sense.
sure which ones, but it's looking like those are going to be the.
I also don't want to overlook this before we move on to the next thing, but Omit is like, those are all pro players.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like those guys are slouches as well, just so we can kind of clear their name. Like,
Oh, 100%. No, my whole thing I wanted to
He
take to
was
this.
trashing Vivid all year. What is going on right now?
One thing that I want to talk about this is like, it makes me think about the Halo open bracket system. Because in Halo, if you're a super good team in the amateur division, you can earn your way into pools and then play against the best and beat them. And then now you're in the top. I would love to see something like that in COD.
100%.
I feel like an open bracket would completely revamp and give legitimacy to the real top 12 teams. Because I think at this event, it proved that teams like Omit and Five Fears are probably better than the bottom 4 or so CDL teams. It's like, give them a chance to compete in this environment, and they're going to show what they can do.
if not as a whole team, at least an individual player on one of those rosters.
Yeah.
And they all 4 or 5 of them looked competitive. Maybe outside of Orchid, but War looked good as well in both P7, aka the other Omit Brooklyn roster. They all looked good. None of them looked like they didn't belong.
The league needs expansion. There's no question after this event, the league needs an expansion, whether that's getting rid of franchising, allowing, like you said, open brackets, systems to happen, but something needs to happen. There's a lot of talent out there that doesn't get to play normally.
It was really cool to see finally those teams compete against the CDL teams because they really put on a show. But we got to talk about it. Is OpTic back in Dynasty form? That's the question that some people are talking about now. I don't think you can start a season 0-18 and call yourself a dynasty, but hey, man, this is the best comeback of all time. I mean, how often have we seen a team struggle to win a single map and then go on to win Worlds and a World Cup? Like, it's insane.
Go number one OpTic fanboy.
I know so this one has baffled me for this whole season in the fact that I have not seen OpTic play as bad as they played this season. And then I think that they reached a new level with the Mercules addition to get them to a spot where they were able to take champs in this event down. There's something about it that seems so odd to me, and I can't put my finger on this dynamic between the players, but Mercules was more of the glue than I thought he would be from a personality, from a vibe perspective. I didn't think he was going to be vibey. I thought he was going to be a little bit ego-heavy, but actually more and more I see the wins. He is not really riding the ego with it. He's kind of just falling into his environment. And the thing that is admirable about him, he fell into a very competitive environment. There was a lot of pressure really quickly on his shoulders, and he was able to stand up to that pressure. And that, I think, is admirable in a lot of ways. So my hat's off to them. I do think it is a strange season. I don't know if it's possible if...
Look at that subtitle.
I know. I was wrong. It happened.
And I think I was... And
they were also 0-18 at a point, so like... It takes a lot to get back. Like you said, they're probably the greatest comeback I've ever seen in Call of Duty.
I mean, ultimately, the person who I still feel bad for that really gets trampled is Skies. Like, he got used by the organization. He was trying to come in, be funny, do the belly rub thing, have some content built around him, whatever. Like, he did these weird things, but, like, I feel for him for wanting to be involved in that environment, but they clearly didn't actually want him in that environment. He was a substitute for them.
They knew he wasn't going to be there forever.
He was not the long-term solution. But no, I was with you as well when it came to the Merc thing. I was like, you were rubbing off on me a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, because OpTic, we all know that they're putting out content left and right. And in some of the videos, like, you're just like, oh, he's not going to click with this team. Something just looks off, like he's very shy, secluded. But then when you get those listens in with him at the tournament, dude, he's driving the bus. He is the guy, and he is keeping things calm, cool, and collected for a guy that's only competed at 3 major events. Like, that's insane to me.
I think he's just got so much aura that he doesn't care about the cameras. He's not putting on a show to like play up for the camera. He doesn't care about content. The kid just wants to win Call of Duty.
Yeah.
100%.
I respect that, bro. Like, he's literally just there to win, and like, he's winning. He looked insane in Grands this tournament, like way better than Champs. Champs was his first Grand Finals. He was like, But this one, he like stepped up and was insane.
And kind of like you were saying earlier, just like the position that he was in, he was on an Ultra team that was actually like pretty good. They're like at the one of the top teams in the league, and OpTic's at the bottom of the league. And OpTic's also like the giant of Call of Duty with the most expectation. And you're joining that team. It's like that's a lot of pressure to put on a dude who just competed at his first major ever. And the way that he was able to arrive and just take this team to the very, very top was insane to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of the unsung hero for this roster too is Huke.
Oh, yeah.
Kyler was a lot of the glue that really you never saw in any capacity. It was just him being there and showing up and being consistent.
He did the dirty work, no question about it. He wasn't stuffing the stat sheet because he didn't need to, because they were winning because of what he was doing.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he's almost the opposite player as Pred. Like, Pred and him are polar opposites on the way they play that sub. Pred is in your face, constant pressure, everything going. Kyler is like very sneaky and playing right and always consistent and rotating back or finding the spot.
More concerned about spawns and like keeping control of the map.
Where like Pred didn't know the spawns. It was like obvious he didn't know, but he could outslay it. It didn't matter. So.
You know what, Eli? I know this is your show, but I have a challenge on the table.
Okay.
CJ, $20 if you could name me every OpTic roster move from the beginning of the year to now.
From the beginning of the year?
From the beginning of the year to now.
Well, there was
He doesn't have any electronic devices.
I don't. So first was Pred, who got...
So how did the roster start?
It was Pred, Kenny, Dashy, and Shotzi.
Okay.
Pred disappeared for a little while.
Okay.
Went back to Australia for a personal reason, and then came back.
Okay, who took his spot?
I think it was Huke.
Yep.
I think Huke came next.
Okay.
And then they bumped Kenny for Skies. And then Skies got replaced by Mercules.
I think you're missing one or two.
Am I
I'm not sure. I didn't have
No.
the information.
I think
this
you're
will
right.
have to
I
be.
think that's it.
Yeah, I
This will
think
have to
that's
be a
it.
post-production
It
check.
felt
but
like it was more painful though because of the way it happened
Yeah,
each time.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's it right there though.
all right.
that's-
$20 going his way if he's right.
We don't condone gambling and betting. All right. Let's move on. We've got another fun segment coming up for you guys. Clutch or Kick. It's everybody's favorite segment. We see you guys click into the Clutch or Kick segment in the YouTube video. Stop that. Okay? We know you enjoy it, but watch the rest of it. All right. We're starting with Nick. Nick, what's your Clutch or Kick?
You know, we talked about it a little bit, and I feel like it needs to even be a harder sell. But Vancouver Surge was the most consistent team in the league ever since adding Neptune. No question about it. Second, 9th through 12th. Second. They were great and consistent the entire year. I loved everything about them. Everybody said that they had Mickey brackets and it was the coach that got them there and this, that, and the other thing. Stop. Just stop. You don't get that many second places by being bad. I know they're the bridesmaid of the CDL this season, but they are still extremely good and just showed it.
All right, I'll go first. I'm going to clutch this because I've been a part of the power ranking show, and every time I look at people's power rankings and they put Surge in 6th, I'm like, how faded are you to put Surge in 6th? They got 12th once and 2nd every other event. Like, they're very consistent, but people don't give them credit for as good as they are. So this is a clutch for me. I think they need to figure it out in grand finals, though.
Yeah. Figure out how they're not matching up well against OpTic.
I'll go next. I'm going to clutch this too, but I do disagree with one thing that you said because I truly do. I think it's Rambo Ray that's gotten them to this point. I just don't think that these guys, don't get me wrong, they've been great. They're the most consistent team of the year, but I don't think they have the firepower to really compete at the top of the top, and I think that's why they fell short in a lot of grand finals. But I do think they were the most consistent team throughout the year.
Who cares? Like they didn't win when they needed to win. You have to go and win champs. You have to win an event. You have to win a major. You got to show up. It's just like your ceiling gets so low when you can't be able to close out these finals. And making it there is one thing, but the way that the CDL works is you only have to win 2 or 3 series, and they're not necessarily against good teams to make it to the grand finals sometimes. You might get to play a Boston Breach and a Minnesota Rocker to make it to the finals, and if you do, like, so what? You made it there. It shows you're beating the bad teams, but you can't beat the good ones. So.
Yeah, I think my point just continues to stand, and to Eli's point, he almost sold it better than me. But if we did a power rankings today for how the CDL season went, I bet they would still, in our expert opinions, they would still be 5 or 6. And to me, that is just blatantly wrong.
I'm not taking them against any of the top 5 teams in a head-to-head.
How many times have you
They've
guys
done
picked
it.
FaZe?
They've done it every single
How many
tournament.
times have you guys
I would
picked
put-
FaZe and Thieves
I'm
over
still putting
them?
those 2 above them. I'm putting OpTic above them.
Oh,
I'm
that's
putting
crazy.
They just
Ultra
got
above
8th
them.
in top
I'm
12.
putting Heretics above them.
Oh my.
I get it.
think- I
And
mean-
this was the reason for the topic.
I'm skewing the rankings. I'm sorry. You have to be able to beat the best teams, and that's their problem. They couldn't actually beat the best teams.
They did every single tournament except for grand
They
finals.
just haven't
I
done
will
it in
say
the grand finals.
They just haven't done it in the grand finals.
No, we're good.
All right.
I said I choose chaos, okay?
Let's go to the next one. It's going to be Davis. Davis, what's your clutch or kick?
So my clutch or kick is actually, that's not mine, but here we go.
we're-
Here we go. The Shotzi was the EWC MVP, and I'm actually going to kick this. I don't think he was deserving of it. Don't get me wrong. I think Shotzi played tremendously, but I just think that you got to give flowers where they're deserved, and I think Dashi was really the one for me that stepped up this whole entire event, and he was the guy that I would have personally put as the MVP. I think Shotzi had his moments, and he definitely – everybody on the team had their moment where they won them rounds and won them games. Mercules had moments where they were about to get 3-0'd by Heretics, and without Mercules being on the point with 2 seconds left, they would have lost that 3-0 and been knocked out. So don't get me wrong. I think that he's been great, but in my opinion, I think Dashi has just been a little bit better. And if we go to the next graphic, you'll see kind of the all-around. Oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah, there's one more.
Yeah, there's one more graphic with kind of all-around stats of the whole team. And here we go. The thing that I look at here is the the breaking point rating, which kind of takes in factor everything, not just your killing and like what you're doing. It's more what you're doing around the map and your pressure and everything. And here's your battle point ratings. Mercules was actually the highest, but me personally, I would have voted Dashi as the MVP.
You said Shotzi.
I would have voted Dashy.
Yeah.
That's why he's kicking it.
Yeah.
I'm kicking.
He is-
Shotzi
you're
was the
kicking it.
MVP.
I see.
And I'm kicking.
I want to
My
go
bad.
next, Nick.
Fine.
Shotzi was definitely the MVP, my guy. Dashy's stats are skewed because of the Surge, who can't show up in the grand finals ever, right? So Dashy gets a bump because of them. But ultimately, Shotzi was the only reason that these guys won these series. No Shotzi, no win. Gotta have him. He's the MVP for sure.
I'm also going to kick to agree with
Wow.
Davis that it wasn't Shotzi. I think it was either Dashy or Mercules. Although, I mean, the bad thing is this is such a good team. Like, literally every single one of them were doing so many things on the map. They were clutching up when it mattered. Mercules, like, 1v3 was jaw-dropping. That was one of the sickest plays we've seen. I would have given it to one of the ARs, personally.
Clutch. This is a prime example of stats aren't everything. I still think he had a statistically a great event. However, the things that jump off the page, it's like in that Miami Heretic series, if he did not clutch 2 or 3 separate maps, they lose that series and they're in the 3rd and 4th place match without Shotzi. I'm not saying that everybody else played bad, but he deserved it, and it's not on the stats alone.
100%. I just wanted to touch one more thing off of what Eli said. I think everybody on this team was tremendous, and that's why it's so hard to really give an MVP. And I think, when it comes down to it, Shotzi was the MVP of champs for me. But when you look at the EWC and it's this close again, and he doesn't have the best stats, that's the thing that pushes other people over the edge, in my opinion.
I feel like they flip-flopped it. I think Merc should have got MVP at EWC and Shotzi should have got it at champs, but they did it the other way around.
Yeah, I think, and again, we all kind of awards are relatively fluff anyway. But I think for me, when it comes to an MVP, it's 100% eye test, and Shotzi looked the best the entire weekend. We're not talking about just grand finals here. The entire event.
Okay, well, my clutcher kick is next. You guys got teased it a couple times at the bottom of the screen, but let's talk about it for real this time. My take is that coaches make Call of Duty better. This was like controversial when it dropped. People are like, no, that's not Call of Duty. They shouldn't have coaches on stage. I'm biased. I'm going to just say it. I come from the Halo universe. We've been having coaches in the ears of the players since 2005. So it's like, did they not play better Call of Duty when they had coaches in their ears to correct their mistakes? Without a coach, these guys are just blacked out, running at walls constantly, and they can't figure out what they're doing wrong. You need someone in the ear to tell you to wake up and play the video game, and I think that's what we saw, and that's why the Call of Duty was so good. So I'm clutching it.
Good.
I'm going to clutch this as well. I think, I'm a bunch of the people that were kind of against this whole thing and didn't really like the coaches being on stage were the players. And if you think about Call of Duty as a whole, it's like, this is probably the most egotistical esport that there is. And so that's the reason they don't want the coach there in their ear telling them they're doing stuff wrong. But you really need that to be able to perform at your best. So I think it was great.
Yeah, I like this too. There's a couple of reasons as a player that I feel like this is helpful. One of the things that's really hard to master as a player is being able to call out and play the game at the same time. And so like you're constantly in a gunfight telling where somebody is and listening to other people's call outs and trying to win the gunfight. And so all those things happening simultaneously are very challenging, and that's why I think the players like it as a skill gap. But I like it when a coach can chime into my ear and say, hey, you're the last alive on this spot. You really need to win this 2v1. Take your time with it kind of thing. And I think that does improve the gameplay for all. Now, some players are able to do that. I wasn't able to do it. So it's nice to be able to have somebody in your ear that tells you what to do in the right moment. So.
Eli, before I answer, because he said something hilarious. As a coach, would you ever say, hey, CJ, you're in a piv. You have to win this or we lose?
Yeah, don't do that to your player.
Don't say that to your player. You fluff it up to the best of your ability. But, Clutch, there's no question about this. I know we're about to get into it a little bit later, but I might be looking for a job soon, so Call of Duty, watch out.
Well,
play your life. Just play your life, okay?
Yeah.
Live.
Let's go to CJ's clutcher.
Okay, I once again have chosen chaos for those watching. There was something that happened during the OpTic series where there were some players calling out which site that the folks were going to. And so one of the things that is really interesting about this is, for whatever reason, we think we can govern crowds. We think we can train crowds to do certain things. And one of the esports that's mastered this is Counter-Strike. And the thing that's crazy about it, if you watch Counter-Strike, they don't show certain views at certain times because they know that the crowd will give away information. So they'll never show the person defusing. They always show the other player looking for the person defusing. They won't show certain people behind certain wall banks because they know the players know this and will use the crowd to their advantage. This is something that the Call of Duty esport has not mastered because they don't know what to show and when to show it. And this is shown from the spectator side where it's really challenging to watch Call of Duty in different ways. And so one of the things that happened at EWC is they didn't master this and the crowd gave it away. I think it's an awesome thing in the fact that if you have a home crowd, you can win because of it, right? That's an advantage you get. But I think it is definitely a crutch when people say, hey, you have to be able to control the crowd. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's good for anything. So I'm going to say that you can't govern the crowd and learn to play with it. Go ahead.
When do you guys go first?
I'll go. So I've got multiple things to say on this, but I'm going to clutch it to an extent as well. However, there is some gray here in that I do want to clarify. You can't govern a crowd when it comes to cheering and that sort of thing. However, I think the obvious red line that you missed is depending on what they're chanting or what they're saying. Obviously, none of the isms being yelled from the crowd. You have to be able to control the crowd from at least that standpoint. But from the standpoint that they're talking about here, no, let them yell, hoot, holler, and do everything that they want there. And the other side of the coin is these players have roughly $10,000 on their ear. Is it perfect? No. You already mentioned they're talking about comms, they're talking about rotations, they're watching spawns, they're tracking how many are alive or dead at a certain point in time. There is so much going on, and with so much sound being pumped into your ears, this does not play as big of an effect as people think it does, especially in the respawn modes. S&D might be a little bit different because of what you were talking about, the tactical shooter aspect of, oh, they're defusing, or oh, you're about to be in an engagement. But in respawn modes, this isn't even an issue to me.
You go first, Eli. I'm so on the fence. I need another
to be honest,
explanation.
okay, when I was going into this, I thought for sure I was going to kick it. Then CJ was like, he made some good points, but I'm still going to kick it because
yeah, good for you.
Because you can govern a crowd, bro. Like, yeah, they're drunk and they're going to be stupid, and like that's usually the problem at these events is they're just drunk and that's why they're yelling, my team, I want my team to win, so I'm going to cheat for them. But like I'm with Hex on this. Like, you should shut that down. As soon as one game ends, you can start kicking people out of the venue and then make a public service announcement. They were getting kicked out of the venue for other reasons that we'll talk about later. So I don't see why this wouldn't be another reason to kick people out of the venue. If you're trying to cheat for your team, that's not cool.
Scraps Girl wouldn't be allowed in the venue if that hasn't been a thing. She's been doing it for years. So
they kick her out.
Davis,
dude, you've
heard the argument.
I know. I am still dead on the middle of the fence. I don't know. I really don't.
You want to click? You want to click it?
The main thing is I don't think it affects stuff as much as people think. Like I think as a viewer, when we don't have anything on our ears and we're hearing it in the live feed. Yeah, I'm just gonna put up both. To be honest, just don't change my color. Don't change my color.
Are you clutching it or are you clicking it?
I'm clicking it.
All right,
but it sounds like you have more.
I really don't think that. I really don't think it affects people as much as it seems. Like you said, they have so much noise canceling in their heads, and there's so much going on in their head that like. Don't get me wrong. When they sense energy in the crowd, they know something's happening. But I don't know, man. I don't
never get rid of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just don't think you'll be able to ever fix that. So
one counterpoint I will make: the fact that there's coaches on stage actually changes this because coaches, and Nick should know this too, one ear on, one ear off, and it's very easy for them to hear the crowd, even though they've got white noise in it. They're just pulling one off. They don't need to have surround sound.
Coaches also don't get game sound, so you hear a lot more.
Well, coaches also can't talk in S&D in between. It's only in between. Yeah. We can't talk to the players when they're actually actively playing.
That was a rule.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, because it would be like, he's A. You know, like,
Look up at the screen.
He's going A.
Guys. I think they're going.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's definitely a gray area. I think if you're in the crowd, though, just shut up.
I think it comes down to the people at the main point. Like if you love Call of Duty and you're there watching it, no matter what, if you're your favorite team or not, like they're competing, and if they don't have the advantage, yeah, exactly. If they don't have the advantage, they're not going to win. Sorry.
There's definitely a social element to this where it is socially unacceptable to yell out that Beezy is defusing the bomb on B or whatever it is, right? And I get that piece. I'm just saying, I think it's really silly to think that, hey, we're going to have our crowd follow this set of rules. I don't think crowds will do that. I think ultimately you'll end up losing that fight where they'll revolt against you if you do it in the wrong way.
I agree.
Yeah. It's tricky. You got to tiptoe around it
Go
if
ahead.
you're a tournament organizer.
Yep.
But that's going to wrap up Clutch Your Kick. We've got more segments for you. The next one is going to be called Build Your Loadout. This is one where we had to pick our favorite roster of 4, or basically create a fantasy team. Can only pick a max of 2 players per team that exists in reality as you create your lineup. I think ours ended up pretty close, but we'll start with mine.
Yeah, what you got, Eli?
I got Shotzi and Mercules from OpTic, and then I got 04 and Joe Deceives. I thought Joe Deceives played absolutely incredible Call of Duty. Them getting 3rd, I think they should have been in the grand final, if I'm being honest. The way that him and Abe were working off of each other. And then 04 just really held it down. And all the series that they won, 04 was popping off, making big brain plays, rotations. He was on top of spawns. I think statistically, maybe not the best on that team, but it felt from the eye test that he was doing a lot for their roster. So
I'm next.
All right, CJ, what you got?
Super team Shotzi. And this is going to be a crazy pick here. Hydra. And we got Rencor and Mercules. Let me tell you why Hydra. Hydra is trapped. He's in a vault underneath the sea, and he's surrounded by a Scraps and an Envoy and Ghosty, and he's just trapped. He needs to be released.
I've never seen the French Trapped. I don't know what you're talking about.
So once Hydra's released, this would be my super team. If you showed up with this team, you would win the event for sure.
Yeah, I think Hydra's a good shout. Like, he was obviously he's had a rough couple tournaments.
Yep.
But that's a team problem, not a Hydra problem.
And he's honestly shown pretty bright through the whole. I mean, they haven't had good results, but he's played very, very well.
Paco's the man.
Okay, we got Davis next. Who's on your dream team?
I'll go next. Mine's a little different. I have Dashy and Mercules from OpTic, and then I have Joey D, who was tremendous, probably the best player in my opinion at this event. And I actually gave it to Insight. And the reason I gave it to Insight is because I think Insight has probably had the worst year competing that he's ever had. And this event, he was lights out. I mean, he was the same way we were talking about earlier with people from OpTic. He won them multiple rounds, multiple games. And so I just wanted to give him his flowers. I think he was tremendous, and so that's my roster.
I like the duo of Insight and Kleenex over there. I think those two are really the core of that team. I'm curious to see what will happen in the offseason for both those guys.
I think they should stick together. We'll see. But it's obviously with.
I think me and you should stick together, Eli. Okay?
That's very romantic of you. I'll consider that. On that note,
After dark.
That's why we're sitting on this side over here, okay?
On that note, Nick, who's on your lineup?
Let's go into mine. You're going to sense an obvious theme here with Shotzi, Mercules, Joe Deceives. However, I've got to lean the CJ way of Rancor here. He was the Heretics team this entire weekend. The guy was great from start to finish. And again, when you look at this sort of thing, you have to look at statistics. And he was statistically the best player on that team. He necessarily didn't fly off on the eye test like Insight did or Shotzi, but looked great. But I have to give some flowers to Joe Deceives yet again. Number 2 KD overall from the entire event, right? You're thinking, oh, that guy ain't playing objective. Wrong. 36 zone captures. 36 in control. The second place person had 27.
That's crazy.
Same amount of maps. Everybody played the same amount of maps of control because you only play control once in the middle of the series, and you're guaranteed to play it every single series. 15 plants on Search and Destroy. He won 60% of his gunfights. I think he had 13 first bloods and 13 first deaths. And he's the guy planting the bomb. What is this guy doing? In my opinion, if you could have an MVP of the event that's not from the winning team, it's Joe Deceive, hands down. Dude played lights out the entire weekend.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while he has one of the highest ceilings we've ever seen in Call of Duty, but he's not always there. This tournament, he was there.
Yeah, and what I do want to say, look at me, chat. This one's for you. I don't care if we had 4 SMGs on our team. We're building the best team. I don't want to see it in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's my
Depending
stance.
on the game, you could have 4.
At the same time, bro, the guns don't even operate that different. You shoot at the guy with a few bullets and they die, all right? Like, it's not, one of them shoots a little bit further away.
That's it.
It's kind of a big difference.
Andy is cursing us out right now.
It's a difference, but it's not so much a difference that, like, if my team needs an AR and I'm a good SMG player, I can pick up an AR.
You can pick it up. You can totally.
And most of them do that. Like if you're on a streak and you have the opportunity between deaths, you kill a sub. Most people pick up a sub so that you can switch in between, so that you have movement advantage, etc.
Yeah, because you don't really want to take a sub to that long-range gunfight because it's hard to win that. You can win a close-range gunfight with an AR, though. So.
Yeah. All right, well.
Great teams, everybody.
Let's throw them in a barrel,
Hydra.
except there's shots you can't play on every team, unfortunately. But
That's a good point.
let's go into the big story. First one is a bit of a frustrating point for both the players, the viewers, probably the staff. That's tech pauses. I mean, let's just be real. This isn't just a Call of Duty problem. This is like esports in general problem. Halo Infinite Year 1, anyone?
Horrendous.
Sorry, let's not talk about it. Yeah, what was the issue, man? Why do we think there were so many tech pauses?
So one of the things with Call of Duty specifically is the fact that the game crashes all the time. So you get loaded up into the game and then it bogs down. And like in a Counter-Strike or a Valorant, you just don't see that as much. Even League of Legends, you just don't see that as much. Maybe Riot Games.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that this game is so unoptimized that there's so many issues that happens with the player dropping. And you can't load an instance of the game if somebody does drop. So if it's round 3 and somebody drops, like you get to restart the whole game and then make up graphics to do it. And that creates all these different backlogs. And it's not fun or competitive in the way that, you know, technically Call of Duty is kind of a casual game that we're trying to play competitively. And so it makes this very nuanced thing where tech pauses exist because of that world that we've created. So.
I will say that I think this is one of the worst years as far as that, and just like the mishaps with like the scoreboard and reading and everything with that. Just the issues this year with crashing the game and having to restart. It was just kind of ridiculous. But
the patches have been generally unstable from the observer perspective.
Yeah, mainly with observer. Probably.
And that's why they've had to change what patch. Like they've changed the patch because of the observer in a lot of times. But it's also probably an issue of just constantly releasing new Call of Duties. And the code is all spaghetti at this point. Like, who's going in and fixing and tweaking the game to make it work correctly? I feel bad for those coders because it's like, oh, sorry, new game. You got to work on the new game now, and it's totally different. So who knows? Maybe that could be the problem. I got to correct you real quick. Riot Games has lots of tech problems as
That's
well.
true. Valorant does.
Valorant and League. There's pauses.
It's been recently. Yeah.
Well,
that's true.
This is where I was going to go with this conversation. I was just going to say one word, and it was going to be poop because nobody likes tech pauses.
True.
However, there's client side, server side, tech side. I think a lot of League Riot's issues recently, and I think that's bleeding over to EWC, is the same group of individuals are working on it, and that comes with hardware and that comes with the people themselves. I think a lot of those issues have been hardware issues. It's the PC, it's the mouse, it's the keyboard, it's a light, it's the power source that they didn't properly.
Yeah. It is.
Champs, didn't the power go out?
It did.
So it's not all of these tech issues this year have been directly related to the game, and I'm not trying to point any fingers, but it's a lot of undermanagement.
I mean, it is a side effect of increasing complexity in video games, right? Like the games are 50 to 100 times more complicated than they were 20 years ago. And we can sit here and be old men and be like, well, my Ocarina of Time never crashed. Why is Black Ops 6 crashing?
Okay. I don't know what that game is.
That's it, guys. That's the show.
That's the show.
Well, it's also, I used to talk about this a lot more than I do now, but we don't have effective training in esports. There's nobody that like shows up, and if I'm like, hey, Davis, this is how you're going to run a tournament, and this is the power requirements you're going to need, and this is how you make sure that it's flawless in nature. Like a lot of those folks that are really, really tenured in the esports space aren't at that lowest level anymore. They've moved up. They're an executive now, so they're not actually helping the operations of the daily stuff going on. And there's a lot of micro complexities that exist in that space from the technology, whether it's internet, electricity, and all the different components that go with that, right? And so one of the things is we take people that are really new to gaming and the esports space and we throw them in that basic TO role, and there's a lot of weird things that can happen to you if you're unexperienced in that role.
Even down to the specific game title, like
Totally.
Especially at something like EWC, where who knows if the tournament staff were trained to do Valorant and COD and League. It's like you have 25 different possible issues with
I've only played StarCraft 2. I do not know why your Call of Duty keeps crashing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't troubleshoot a game I've never looked at in my life. But anyways, let's move on to the next one. This was an interesting one to me that was brought to my attention. that these orgs were being paid to fly out what they were calling super fans to the tournament. So from what I understand, EWC, this was an article from Richard Lewis's Substack. Shout out to you, Mr. Lewis.
Oh, dude, Richard Lewis getting them, huh?
Yeah, but this was just a really interesting article. Like these people were, basically if the higher ups at EWC were paying the orgs to have people fly out just to increase some diversity in the stands. They didn't want it to just be an all Saudi audience. And they wanted to be a bit more hype in the venue, which I think is kind of lame personally. And then some of the orgs like framed it as a sweepstakes, like win a free trip to Riyadh for your super fan experience. But they didn't mention the fact that like they were getting paid to do that. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Well, it's interesting because the flights, I mean, if we're looking at specifically an American game like Call of Duty, you know, we're mostly American, and so you have to fly over there to do that, and it's expensive, and you got to get a hotel and taking time off of work or whatever. So it's not necessarily realistic. So I see why they did this. It is odd though that you wouldn't just pick a different location or whatever. Like there's the new they want it there. I'm not saying they can't, but you know, it is baffling to this. We have created. I want to go to the event, right? But I can't take time and the money and all this stuff. It's just not, there's not a good net win on that side, right? And so it's like, how am I going to pay for this? And so this is probably their solution to that problem. But I don't know if I love it.
Why? I know you just said, but it's like, why? If Tencent in this organization want to pay orgs to get people to come to their event, what's wrong with that? It's feeding the ecosystem and the economy in more ways than one, and it's something, and it's a once in a lifetime experience that these people wouldn't be able to experience if it wasn't for this opportunity. And again, if you're saying that it's maybe a little bit weird because the org themselves may be shelling it like, oh, we're good people, we're going to send you there, but it's really the money that's coming from the Falcons and that ownership group. But I think at the end of the day, it's great that they're putting money back into this to get more people there.
Yeah, I think it's just, to me, another example of them trying to legitimize themselves by throwing money at it. And like that's just been their strategy the whole time, is like, this is awesome. We're going to spend as much money as possible to make it as big and awesome as possible. But we also know that no one's going to show up. So now we're going to pay people to show up so it looks good on camera when people are cheering in the audience. I don't know. It's just like very fake and like puppeteer-esque.
I definitely I get where you're coming from that. And I'm kind of on the fence because I like what CJ said too. I mean, the fact that especially for Call of Duty, obviously this is EWC where there's a ton of different events and a ton of different esports, but like Call of Duty specifically is so dominant in North America, and that's really like it. You see very small presence outside of that, maybe a little bit in EU, but you know, going to Saudi, that's a huge, huge trip that you're, you know, asking fans to do. And it's like, how much of a super fan do you have to be to pay for a trip to go all the way to Saudi Arabia just to see the event? So, I mean, me personally, I probably wouldn't do that. I mean, I don't have the ability to be able to do that, and I don't think many people really have the ability to do that either at any time, like if they just want to out of nowhere. And so I think it's a good thing to allow more people to get there, but it is a little bit weird how it's like
I think the nuance of this too is the ticket price too. The tickets are expensive. It's $255.
They're not paying.
I understand they're not paying, but I'm saying like in general, if you just live over there, you got to pay $255 to show up at the event. For 6 weeks worth of tickets, so I think it's $250 for a week. You're going to pay $1,500 for 6 weeks? Like,
I mean, have you seen how much money they're spending on the stage?
I get it. I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm not saying I wouldn't pay it. I'm just saying.
They've got a golden key for every team that entered any tournament and the whole thing. Like,
it's fake gold.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I was wondering that too. I was like,
I don't know. It's just, they're throwing
I'm trying to get some of that gold.
I would prefer they did a more grassroots style, but you can't do grassroots if you want to just out of nowhere become the biggest esports thing in the world, right? Like
100%.
They're clearly just trying to legitimize themselves as quickly as possible, which like is a fair strategy, and it's injecting money into our scene.
So if I offered you that ticket, Eli, are you taking it?
No.
I'm definitely.
Dude, I would have.
I would have right now. Sure. Davis and I are going.
If I wasn't busy with other things, yes. But I have reasons to be here, so I can't.
Nah, I'm out.
All
right.
But I also Eli's here alone. We're going.
I'll be totally fine without you guys. See you later. Let's go into our last topic in the big story. This is one near and dear to myself and Nick's hearts. We have a heavy heart as the announcement was made earlier this week that there will not be a 2026 season for Halo Infinite, which means a lot of these current Halo pros are thinking about switching to COD. So we pull up the Legend tweet here. Legend, in my opinion, the best player to ever play any Halo ever, which is pretty insane to say. I know Ogre 2 exists, don't worry. But he's insane. And I think that if he switches to COD, he instantly is on a top 2 team minimum. So like maybe it takes him some time to work into it. This is an interesting topic though, because there's a lot of people that are like, okay, there's all these really talented Challengers players that have been grinding day in, day out. It would be weird if Legend goes and he's just instantly on a CDL team over like a Challengers player.
I mean, it's been a friend league forever though. Like,
Yeah.
yo, bros, like we know that if you're on OpTic, it's because like you've made a friend over there and they've invited you to come play with them too. They don't take people off the street most times, right? Mercules might be the exception of that, but like everyone has worked their way into an OpTic spot based off of not necessarily performance alone, but they were friends with those guys first. And a lot of teams work like that still. I think what's interesting is there are going to be people that get cut out because of this, right? Like somebody is going to take a spot from somebody who has been grinding, but that's the way the game's always been. I don't think you're going to change that because it's the ecosystem that exists right now.
Well, I just want to say, kind of circle back to what I talked about earlier. I think it's a huge opportunity for Call of Duty as an esport to just really take advantage of that and these extra players, this influx of talent, and just bring it into one scene together and just we got to get rid of the 12 teams, man. Make it 20, or make it no cap. Just have it to where it's an open bracket, whatever, and you can compete however you want. It's going to be a super influx of players, and it can bring a lot of eyes. Right now we have 2 controller esports that are really competing against each other. We can have one small place or not small, but one place for each other to join forces and work together. I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, Formal's going to play.
I mean,
To be honest,
Like, if he says he's going to hang up the 6 and not play any game, he's going to play Call of Duty. He's going to be on a Call of Duty roster.
well, one thing that I should add is the fact that Halo's not going away next year. It's just not going to be from HCS.
Yeah.
I can tell you LVT, the company that I cast for, is going to try to make a deal with a big sponsor and put on a competitive
Sure.
circuit.
I mean, if they can match the prize pools and somebody is incentivized to play over there for sure, but like I don't think you're going
If
to be
the
able to
prize
compete.
money, yeah,
let me be blunt. The prize money will not be the same, but there will be prize money, and there will be teams that do compete in these
Sure.
games, and it's going to be your OpTic, your FaZe, your Shopify, and maybe SSG. It's going to be a very small league that is still able to field a decent roster. However, I see 4 to 5 players going to COD from the top 12 teams. Formal is not one of them, and I'm not allowed to say some of the others.
I also think that if that happens,
That was
if that happens, only 3 of them survive.
I think it's a little different for me because, like, obviously y'all 2 are directly attached to Halo, and like with me being someone that's not directly attached to either one of these 2 esports, I just think it's really, I don't want to say stupid, but I don't think it's very efficient to have these 2 esports that are like trying to survive, compete against each other. I think it's a great opportunity to join forces and maybe make something special together.
Well, that's what happened in the beginning. Everyone played Halo, and then they switched to COD, and then they switched to Halo, and then they switched back to COD, right? And so like we've
the
seen
life
this.
cycle.
It is the life cycle for sure, and ultimately both games are not in a great state, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not.
No.
But we also have, it's going to be interesting for whatever the CDL does do next season, if it is more teams, if it is a restructuring of some kind. But I think we're going to see a lot of roster blow-ups this season, right?
Yeah.
So that does create the opportunity for folks to be able to weasel their way into stuff.
They're going to have to start playing early, though. Because, like, I don't know, to be in, like, top form, like, these guys are super talented, don't get me wrong, but, like, you still got to play the game significant amount to, like, get the feel and the groove and the ebb and flow.
The timing is
Well,
huge different.
luckily, Black Ops 7 comes out after Halo World Championship.
That's good timing.
Great
These guys.
Love that.
Okay, well, that's going to be the show today. We hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of the Esports World Cup and Black Ops 6. OpTic still on top of the world. Is anybody going to beat them? We'll have to come back and talk about it.
In 2026.
Yeah, in 2026, I guess. It might be a while till the next COD episode. We got plenty more stuff on the Global Gaming Network. If you want to check out any of our other shows, please do. Like, comment, subscribe. All those other algorithmic words help us out, whatever. All right, we love you guys. Have a great night, and see you next time.